From 3 News Now and the Omaha World-Herald, this is Omaha Sunday Morning with Jennifer Griswold.
This week on Omaha Sunday Morning, he calls it a hobby to pass the time, but it is really so much more than that. It is a labor of love to let kids in need know someone is thinking of them. Plus, gone are the desks and the school books, but that doesn't mean learning has stopped at an old schoolhouse in small-town Nebraska. How the school, now a home, keeps teaching a younger generation. And they're the generation that often gets a bad rap. Millennial somehow became a label, and not always a good one. But a number of young people in Omaha are working to change that, getting involved and showing their generation is ready to step up and lead. Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Jennifer Griswold. For more than a half a century, a Fremont man has turned a passion for photography into a business that has touched thousands of lives. As visual journalist Ray Mines shows us, at 76 years old, Richard Rader continues to capture the images of everyday people while also touching their hearts.
And I can drop a switch and down comes our background.
Photography is amazing.
Up it goes.
You just can't get enough of it.
Is radio controlled, no cords on the floor.
My name is Richard Rader. I taught myself photography from absolute scratch based on the help of one man whose name is Larry Koski. One day my wife was cleaning out a kitchen drawer and she held out this roll of black and white exposed film and said, "What do you suppose this is?" And we didn't know. And Larry said, "Well, we could find out, we'll just develop it." Held it up to the light, this roll of black and white negative film, and instantly I was hooked to photography.
This picture.
He loves being around people. He loves to be in control. He really, really loves his work. I've never seen anybody that's more enthused about his occupation as Richard has.
Within a few days, I was making money. For the first time in my career as an amateur photographer, I was making money. $2 was all I got. The most touching part of that story, and it still gets me, is that was during the Vietnam era. Women whose husbands were in Vietnam were able to get this picture the next day because our service would expedite shipping of mail from a family member to the soldier in Vietnam, their mail. And while the mother was still in the hospital, convalescing from having a baby, her husband in Vietnam was seeing pictures of the newborn. Whew.
Here we have our grist mill, or the Mabry mill. Over here the waterfall.
I suppose being 76 years old, more or less, I always knew I would be successful as an independent person, able to do anything that I put my mind to.
Oh, that story about Vietnam, so touching. The photography bug runs in the family too. Richard's son Vic operates Vic's Photography and Video out of Fremont as well. With a metro area of nearly 1 million people, Omaha is not a small city. New families are moving in from across the country to take advantage of our quality of life. And now businesses want more people to come, be our neighbors, enroll their children in our schools, and put down some roots here. They tell 3 News Now reporter Megan Stewart it's imperative to fill the thousands of critical job openings across the city.
Our patients need top talent to take care of them each and every day.
Katie Beach is Nebraska Medicine's lifeline. As the talent acquisition manager, she's tasked with finding employees to fill the hundreds of open positions at the medical system. And as Omaha's unemployment rate has continued to shrink, her job openings have grown.
We have more openings right now because of the growth going on with Fred and Pamela Buffett Cancer Center will always be recruiting staff nurses to join our team. But yeah, it's a challenge.
It's not just Nebraska Medicine.
Any other answers out there? I see
Across the city, major employers like Omaha Public Schools have more than 100 openings.
Ultimately, it's just more opportunities for people to find employment and stay here in our region.
In Omaha, the unemployment rate sits at 2.6%, well below the national average of 4.1%. This as employers like Nebraska Medicine expand, adding the Fred and Pamela Buffett Cancer Center, and new companies like Toast decide to move in. The tech company has pledged to bring a few hundred jobs to Omaha in the next few years.
It's imperative both for us to be known nationwide and even around the world as a place to come to, not just for jobs, but for a really good quality of life.
Too few workers inside the city has led to ramping up recruiting in nearby states and elsewhere.
California, South Dakota, and Iowa are probably the top places where we're able to recruit people to move to Omaha.
In fact, according to the most recent stats available from the U.S. Census Bureau, Iowa, South Dakota, and California are in the top 10 states workers are leaving to take jobs in Nebraska. Others include Texas, Colorado, and Kansas. While the workforce is becoming less homegrown and more diverse, it's also giving Omaha a name across the country.
It's always nice to showcase Omaha and attract people to this city because it's a great place to live and work.
Top employers in Omaha we surveyed say it's a priority to try to recruit from within the city and from our local schools. Younger generations often get a bad rap, labeled lazy or entitled, but millennials are fighting back against that stigma. They say they are driven and motivated to create change, and for our next group, that change starts right here at home. How they hope to leave their mark on the city when Omaha Sunday Morning continues. Time is valuable, and at 83 years old, Ron Sorensen knows all too well that loved ones leave and childhood is precious. But it's what this widower and former foster parent does with his time that's really extraordinary. Omaha World-Herald visual journalist Ryan Satterland shows us his labor of love. Just watch.
That popped on there pretty good.
It's not an expensive hobby, but it's fun, and I enjoy doing it, and then I enjoy giving them away.
It's hard to believe the different styles of watches.
Some of them take 3 or 4 minutes, and the next one maybe take me 20 minutes, depending on what I run into on some of them.
Really are unique watches, some of the bands on them, and
well, like I say, this book right here I have has got thank you notes from, and Nancy went through and checked them, and she said there was 1,500 watches that I gave away this year. I didn't even know for sure. But
a new watch that holds the pin out.
Also an incentive thing. Well, Boys Town told me the same thing. If they get their homework done, then they get a chance to go pick out a watch, and it's an incentive for these kids to get their schoolwork done, and they appreciate it, and it's a plus for me to know that somebody else is getting advantage of it.
And that's it. Takes care of it.
Fabulous idea. The watches go to abused, troubled, and abandoned children. Sorensen has donated thousands of watches over the years. It's an area that is frequently forgotten and underused, the Missouri Riverfront, but efforts to revitalize it are now underway. This week, the Planning Committee shared a revised plan focusing on different areas near the riverfront. It includes expanding the Jean Leahy Mall toward the river and making the riverfront on both sides more accessible for drivers and pedestrians by opening places that people can't or don't go to now.
Our idea is to bring it up to street level so people aren't down 20 feet below the street level, where there can be actually level park areas, playgrounds for kids, dog walks and so forth that are very, very functional.
The committee spearheading the plan has been working on the proposal for more than a year. The committee will use the public's input and will present a revised plan in January. When you look at Congress, the age of our representatives is a little disconnected with the largest living generation, millennials. The average age for the House, 57 years old, 61 for the Senate. In Omaha, many young adults are getting involved in politics to close that generation representation gap. 3 News Now reporter Lindsay Thies shows us how.
But that's my daughter. This is over at Memorial Park.
At 31, Megan Hunt, an online and retail store owner turned state legislature candidate, is using her technology skills towards her campaign.
Traditional people say, you know, all you have to do is knock doors to run a campaign. All you have to do is send mail. All you have to do is phone bank. And I'm going to do all of those things. I'm knocking every day. I'm fundraising. I'm putting in that work.
Across town, 19-year-old Alejandra Escobar is at work too. She leads the Young Nebraskans in Action, a program at the Heartland Worker Center that focuses on getting young people involved, fighting for the issues that matter to them.
Not everyone's going to run for office. We can't make people run for office unless they want to. How can we start developing young leaders to understand that, yes, it's important to vote, yes, it's important to be involved.
It's a generation that these two say hasn't seen the representation that represents them. But now they're part of a generation that is embracing all things social media, and that includes activism, and is working to use that to shape their future. Heartland Workers Center, along with Coalition for a Stronger Nebraska, say that they have seen more and more millennials get involved in the political process, whether it's attending a town hall or calling their senator or even running for office. While Hunt says that she was planning to run anyway, she has an idea why.
I know that this election is what got people thinking about it for the first time. It's very reactionary. We just work with what we've got. You know, I can't control anything that happens in Washington, D.C., but I know that I can make a big impact on things that happen in Omaha and things that happen in Nebraska.
Hunt is running for Burke Harr's seat, which represents Dundee, Benson, and parts of Memorial Park. Harr cannot run again because of term limits. Mina Davis and Josh Henningsen are also running for the District 8 seat. Coming up on Omaha Sunday Morning, a passion for music sent them in search of the perfect home, found in the form of an old schoolhouse. If the walls of that old schoolhouse could talk, now sheet music and string instruments occupy the space once filled with books and desks. But the learning has not stopped. How they are passing on their love of music to a new generation. It was once filled to the brim with students eager to learn. Now desks are gone, the bell no longer rings. The old schoolhouse has a new life as a home, but that doesn't mean the learning has stopped. Omaha World-Herald visual journalist Sarah Hoffman takes us inside the unique home that is inspiring others.
Have you heard about the scientific theory, the string theory? We supposedly knew what made up the universe, but now folks are saying that there's something about a string that just makes the universe come together. When we were shopping for a place, David would bring his harmonica. He would play the harmonica in each space in the buildings that we were considering buying. And so when we got here, it was a sure thing that acoustically this was definitely the place we wanted to be. You can hear yourself play. We bought it in 1990. And since then, we've been doing concerts and workshops and camps and a lot of private lessons. One of the unique things about the fiddle, particularly as opposed to a guitar or a mandolin, is that on the fingerboard where you put your fingers to change the pitches, there are no guidelines as to where your fingers should be. You just have to put it in the right place at the right time every time.
Beautiful music. The schoolhouse is located in Avoca, Nebraska. It holds performances that you can check out throughout the year. A giant T-Rex, life-size people, a 3D portrait, all made of Legos. The much-anticipated Capital District's first big event opened up this weekend. It's called The Art of the Brick, an elaborate collection of art made from more than 1 million bricks.
They find a little creativity in their own lives. And that doesn't necessarily mean they're spending months building a giant Lego sculpture. That could just be some finger painting with the kids or a little doodling. But any little creativity, I think, is an important thing. It just helps us.
The exhibit runs until February 19th. It costs $20 for adults, $17.50 for children. Picking a daycare provider can be a long and stressful process for parents, but a new program is trying to help parents along the way. The Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services oversees licensings of daycares, but now the State Department of Education is stepping in to ensure quality and accountability. 3 News Now reporter Shantae Passmore explored this program.
Quality, accountability are important at any child care center.
There's more to finding a good child care center than how much does it cost and do you have enough, do you have room?
Especially early childhood education. That's where Step Up to Quality steps in.
It's designed to improve the quality of programs that children ages birth to 5.
The State Department of Education launched it in 2014. It's optional, except for centers receiving more than $250,000 a year in subsidy money. It features a 5-tier rating with child care centers aiming as high as they want, dealing with everything ranging from curriculum to best practices. Jen Nelson, a 30-year-plus industry veteran, received the highest rating at Nurture Nature Family Child Care.
I honestly thought I had a good program, but there's always ways to improve.
Nelson says she got rid of the worksheets and battery-operated devices. The only thing powered on in here are the lights and children's brains through hands-on workstations in and outside her home. Joyce Kenny says with the high turnover rates and lack of support in the industry, it could seem like this optional system creates more red tape, but believes it trickles down to an age-old argument focused on kids first. And if you're not sure if your child care center is rated, don't wonder anymore.
They need to ask for it. They need to demand it from their programs.
At last check, more than 450 child care centers say they are committed to that program. Omaha Sunday Morning continues next with a comical take on some recent health changes by none other than editorial cartoonist Jeff Katurba. Stay with us. Curling fans got a chance to take in the action up close at the U.S. Olympic curling trials at Baxter Arena. Omaha World-Herald visual journalist Ryan Soderlund snapped this incredible photo during the trials. And finally this week, maybe it's the thought of holiday hustle and bustle or just simply the thought of the weekend coming to an end. It can leave you feeling a little stressed. This week, Omaha World-Herald cartoonist Jeff Katurba's latest cartoon is one that will certainly raise your blood pressure.
I'm Jeff Katurba. I am the editorial cartoonist for the Omaha World-Herald.
As if modern life isn't stressful enough, now we get new guidelines that lower the threshold for high blood pressure. For years, the standard has been 140/90. But with these revised guidelines, high blood pressure is defined by 130/80. How is it? I was feeling just fine one day, and then suddenly, upon reading this news, I'm now all stressed out. But I was stressed out before, which is why I drew this cartoon showing a guy whose significant other is suggesting that maybe one lifestyle change he can make is to simply turn away from all the political arguing. Because maybe all of this red versus blue, right versus left, is causing our collective blood pressures to skyrocket. Now, as luck would have it, I happen to have a doctor's visit on the books. Knowing I might record a video about my blood pressure cartoon, I asked the nurse to take these photos. But before taking these, she suggested I put on my cap and glasses. She said I look better that way. Anyway, beyond her suggesting that I look better in my cap and glasses, she's a wonderful nurse who works for a wonderful doctor. And I have no idea where she is on the political spectrum. Which takes us back to my cartoon. How often do you receive excellent medical care, or eat a great meal at a restaurant, or have your kitchen sink fixed, and yet not know the politics of the nurse, the chef, or the plumber? Maybe if we were all able to put our politics aside more often and just appreciate the good things about each other, we'd all be less stressed out. Oh, in case you were wondering, my blood pressure was 132/80. But hey, at least my nurse thinks I look good with a cap and glasses.
And that's why we like this show. Keeps your blood pressure low. That's all for this week. Thanks for watching Omaha Sunday Morning. We'll see you back here next week.